Abusia video ya daso ya wohwe Ghana fo ade hye a omoko school ewo Ukraine according to the video. Na entokwa bi koso ewo Russia ene Ukraine entem asisi ya kase otum so omani abrebuta. Na baby wo mo hye no bonkam anashe shelter sana mefre no because Israel hana baby amewei mema witness bi da sa won witness bomb to ewo kuru bi aso da wonte de omoye no ase ba wa witness bi da obenya feelings ne pa eno ye na woda ho abehu ase aban bi bo na wo so ye fast na odwane kwhye bonka bim because ebia na misas ne ba na be bodan nim na abu akun nti kwhye bonka nim abu kura na mo hye ase enya de amwu nti baby wo mo hye no baby ye safe a omo bomb no to a entimi enye de enkum omo na eto na enkun no ase wo na wo hye no etime wo so dan no a enya asem ketwa omo starti Israel and Palestine tokwa no na enya asem ketwa kra enya de otimi da woda ho abon so mabo sare no sare ne bo a ne se wo so ye fast the sport akra ne show afa pia bonten enya afi na akopɛ trousers ahye ntempa na wusi form nti woda ho nyina no hye shoe woda ho nyina no dress na da ho nti boy na odrimika no wasifu mi de ma witness bi pa pen nti de omo ewo screen su no sei ene tie esa na wo bonka ni mu na wo video na wo send bi de ma wo friends bi ewunu ya chale ade no mo adin we say na eku na ohwe ntokwa ekoso ewo Ukraine ene Russia entamu a amanfo kire wo mo nkasa mu say Russia fo ene ekoka sa ntokwa yi na me the videos bi ebeto to screen so amya hwe videos na me to so no video first one am to so time wa na omo start dwumadi na nkasa ne nkofo ehunu se emsa ade no no phone ase baller suja no ho a na agya ahete baako miza to anya asem ketwa wo bi a watena Israel hat de meka na se ena obi a waba ha pen na wawetena se woda ete de meka na se na ade no to sa na se bodan ni mu a ete se iron rods no na eto no ase iron rods nti to bom se pum na etutu se tu di ago be obi abun se to ba se sa ano adin bruta koma mahunu bi da nti we na eto sa no eto ba area na eba na omo target baabi a omo hunu se eboho na esai bibia ebeka kuro na koma yie ho no omo target mo pa nti omo tutu sa no mane oma we na enam wiem sa no na yenim se ebia ometimi asolve problem but as at time ya ye ka se utimi se ano odin enam so ema America fo ababontia abekasa enam so ema UK fo so prime minister so abekasa Putin na nkasa no amu so abatu na no mutu akasa me akoma atimi se ntokwa we na nyaade a utwa so enne anase ekina atimi na ni abre bruta na menim de kote ahomamma gofo ni akobre sa no o check video ye da sunsu a sisi kasai nyaade omuda o Ukraine ene ye fene sei Russia omunna video na da so no omunna esisu saa from anadwo to anopa a omu monitor se bomb bi bu se de na ebu entempa na no na akopo ba bi akwahye so ati ase nti nyaade omuda cam ni siso saa camera ni siso 24/7 ene monitor ekuru no saa se de be ya bibi ba entempa na no fast na wadwane ekwade chi anopa no so enie nti nyaade omuda esisu saa 24/7 because o ma wani patre ho 1 minute kura na bibia betimasi a enya asem ketwa nti Ghana fo ade hye omo saa Ukraine kuro no so no a omo ye students omo ho no esi ye kase pa de play bia ntimi nkoho sesi ye kase because bomb ne na mu wiem nti nyaade a plane betimatu akofo obia wo saa kuro no so ise bia mu dwo kakra ana se bia diplomatic sem bibam na omudi nkomo manti ase bi ye adwuma na bisa cause odi agoli plane ko na nti wiem a anhwe a obehu anse atewode wo ba form na se eno so ho nkomo betimi aya asem foforo nti wei ene ade a ekoso ewo Ukraine ene Russia entem a enye asem ketwa kora Ghana fa mo ho nyina no ye ma mo hyeden because me ma face bi da ntimi nim de saa asem we nyina ete ene de betimi akwakosie wei nso train station na wo he wo TV no so saa no omo adrimika nso makwa hyehye bonka mu nti underground mebre ho a emrofo na nkasa aye ewo kuro no mu a omunim se de ntokwa betime sitan bia nti ntokwa ne sise ekimu a entempa na no na wakwa akwhye saa place wo se de be ya ade no to a emba mbekun so ate ase nti wonso omunyina ahyehye wo se de base na enye okrata na ehwe ene enye owanim tuntum debedebe obi adwane agye ne kra nkwa sei ene ho asem eden ete na eye Putin ankasa bekasa yentie nsem a Putin no odi nkan wo videos mako miensa ono ankasa wakasa afasa ansem ya ekoso ye ho Biden so abekasa ana afin so prime minister of London so in UK ono so abekasa yentie nsem a omumienu omukeke kan ominti.
I'm addressing the Ukrainian army. Please lay down your arms. Your granddads and your great-grandfathers did not fight the Nazis and defend our common fatherland so that neo-Nazis would seize power in Ukraine. You made an oath to serve the Ukrainian people. They are a fascist junta who have seized power. They're plundering Ukraine and exploiting its people. Don't fulfill their criminal orders. Lay down your weapons and go home.
Okay, 81 in Odiba ni. Ose Ukraine for no enform kra omo ayi akukudie anaso omo entokwa akondie no engu fom no obi anko fie nkoda. Woto warning de amomo. Me se anso hwa enkofo na ante nsem ase. Ama me kira ma papa na ante ne ho ase. Ene wosan betena ase biem. Yentie nsem wosan de beto abontin biem.
Помешать нам, а тем более создать угрозы для нашей страны, для нашего народа.
We message we no dey warning and what dey ma all the countries what wiase afa na nyina said wonnim na obestop sa ntokwe no omo de omabufusie ebekosa akuru no so. Okay.
Должны знать, что ответ России будет незамедлительным и приведет вас к таким последствиям, с которыми вы в своей истории еще никогда не сталкивались. Мы готовы к любому развитию событий. Все необходимые в этой связи решения приняты. Надеюсь, что я буду услышан. Кто бы ни пытался помешать нам, а тем более создать угрозы для нашей страны, для нашего народа, должны знать, что ответ России будет незамедлительным и приведет вас к таким последствиям, с которыми вы в своей истории еще никогда не сталкивались. Мы готовы к любому развитию событий. Все необходимые в этой связи решения приняты. Надеюсь, что я буду услышан. Не пытался помешать.
Okay, eno we so ebetu mu na hwede we anani ase abre na wo kasa na enya de papa ibe janto kwa mu say minim kom befa so medwedwe na koma de wa hiti buluta na ode sansem yenu we ebetu dwa no ana afi ne ono a Russia for president na abiemu wa we kan ho 3 times na meboye wakasa mienu. Third one so ni ansa na mede Joe Biden so woni ode aba so e de ato de mu third one so.
Военным путем будет возвращать себе Крым, европейские страны автоматически будут втянуты в военный конфликт с Россией. Конечно, значит, потенциал объединенной организации НАТО и России несопоставим. Мы понимаем. Но мы также и понимаем, что Россия одна из ведущих.
Okay, NATO no na say one America for, once America for soldier for ewo eye borders mebre. A omo boaboa eye ekuru bia in case problems baswa. Omo ni omo edinsa woso ene saa no maneoma no nti eno ana papa yi so no chese on say European country no so omo dosu aha nti omo nyina United saa so maka omo ho abombi saa European nation no nti saa ntokwe ya ekoso yi no wo de tie de Joe Biden ba beka afa saa ntokwe ya ekosi mu adwen say bi asi wo Russia na say Ukraine te okay ba bia wo Europe bia na me say udi agora bibetima to afa ho. I'm
authorizing additional strong sanctions and new limitations on what can be exported to Russia. This is going to impose severe cost on the Russian economy, both immediately and over time. We have purposely designed these sanctions to maximize the long-term impact on Russia and to minimize the impact on the United States and our allies. Our forces are not and will not be engaged in the conflict with Russia in Ukraine. I just spoke with the G7 leaders this morning, and we're in full and total agreement. We're going to stunt the ability to finance and grow the Russian military. We're going to impose and we're going to impair their ability to compete in high-tech 21st century economy. In today's actions, we've now sanctioned Russian banks that together hold around $1 trillion in assets. We've cut off Russia's largest bank, a bank that holds more than 1/3 of Russia's banking assets by itself, cut it off from the U.S. financial system. And today, we're also blocking 4 more major banks. That means every asset they have in America will be frozen.
Hey.
Between our actions and those of our allies and partners, we estimate that we'll cut off more than half of Russia's high-tech imports. We're also taking steps to defend our NATO allies, particularly in the East. Tomorrow, NATO will convene a summit. We'll be there to bring together the leaders of 30 allied nations and close partners to affirm our solidarity and to map out the next steps we will take to further strengthen all aspects of our NATO alliance. Let me say it again. Our forces are not and will not be engaged in the conflict with Russia in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight in Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies and reassure those allies in the East. This is a dangerous moment for all of Europe, for the freedom around the world.
So, what's what say? This is a dangerous moment for all of you in Europe. What I say?
Putin has committed an assault on the very principles that uphold the global peace. But now, the entire world sees clearly what Putin and his Kremlin and his Kremlin allies are really all about. This aggression cannot go unanswered. If it did, the consequences for America would be much worse. America stands up to bullies. We stand up for freedom. This is who we are. When the history of this era is written, Putin's choice to make a totally unjustifiable war on Ukraine will have left Russia weaker and the rest of the world stronger. Liberty, democracy, human dignity, these are the forces far more powerful than fear and oppression. They cannot be extinguished by tyrants like Putin and his armies. They cannot be erased by from people's hearts and hopes by any amount of violence and intimidation. They endure. Today.
Okay, etutie asemwa Joe can. That is the Joe close a lot of banks are Russia for there because who say almo and starting to kwan say they all canon because me the minimum say already starting na say we na start here but according to mpanyimfo a omunim Acquah ho nsem any news ho nsem a omo ye mpanyimfo omo de dan no ma no kire say Russia for and start here sent to kwai akofa asem e de aba omo banks a ba bia duru no tim say ano edin omo banks nya wa close no de na je say enya asem keto akura Ghana fo amo ho nyina no ye ma mo shedin but baby ade na duru no ano ayedin pa na we ana UK for prime minister nso edina no ebetu mu yentire ono so okai.
Shortly after 4 o'clock this morning, I spoke to President Zelensky of Ukraine to offer the continued support of the UK, because our worst fears have now come true and all our warnings have proved tragically accurate. President Putin of Russia has unleashed war in our European continent. He's attacked a friendly country without any provocation and without any credible excuse. Innumerable missiles and bombs have been raining down on an entirely innocent population. A vast invasion is underway by land, by sea, and by air. And this is not in the infamous phrase, some faraway country of which we know little. We have Ukrainian friends in this country, neighbors, co-workers. Ukraine is a country that for decades has enjoyed freedom and democracy and the right to choose its own destiny. We and the world cannot allow that freedom just to be snuffed out. We cannot and will not just look away. It's because we've been so alarmed in recent months at Russian intimidation that the UK became one of the first countries in Europe to send defensive weaponry to help the Ukrainians. Other allies have now done the same, and we will do what more we can in the days ahead. Today, in concert with our allies, we will agree a massive package of economic sanctions designed in time to hobble the Russian economy. And to that end, we must also collectively cease the dependence on Russian oil and gas that for too long has given Putin his grip on Western politics. Our mission is clear. Diplomatically, politically, economically, and eventually militarily, this hideous and barbaric venture of Vladimir Putin must end in failure. And so I say to the people of Russia, whose president has just authorized a tidal wave of violence against a fellow Slavic people, the parents of Russian soldiers who will lose their lives, I cannot believe this is being done in your name, or that you really want the pariah status it will bring to the Putin regime. And I say to the Ukrainians in this moment of agony, we are with you. We're praying for you and your families, and we are on your side. And if the months ahead are grim and the flame of freedom burns low, I know that it will blaze bright again in Ukraine, because for all his bombs and tanks and missiles, I don't believe that the Russian dictator will ever subdue the national feeling of the Ukrainians and their passionate belief that their country should be free. I say to the British people and all who have heard the threats from Putin against those who stand with Ukraine, we will of course do everything to keep our country safe. We're joined in our outrage by friends and allies around the world. We will work with them for however long it takes to ensure that the sovereignty and independence of Ukraine is restored. Because this act of wanton and reckless aggression is an attack not just on Ukraine, it's an attack on democracy and freedom in Eastern Europe and around the world. This crisis is about the right of a free, sovereign, independent European people to choose their own future. And that is a right that the UK will always defend.
Okay, etutie ensemo a akoso ana chese UK ene America omunyina le omanu atum chese Russia fo na start santokwa no na omunyina etai Ukraine fo no achi na media awrahosem ewom a meka ebiem ade atoso ene enuam Ghana fo a omo ekuru nso sese awrahosem because untimi now untimi na meka no krach na bede no wada ma face bi da intiminim de meka untimi na uti wabonsa ade na ebokwe no eso odwane kwhye ba bi a meka yi wo hye won so na se tunso wo wiem etimi woso da enya asem ketwa ye bom pae se entokwai etobetimetwa na enuanom abeka yensa na bibia ayekama me sure se week ni nkwana wie ye de ebia ne akote asem papa bi na agyantokwai etwatwa ama yenuanom a omo wo Ukraine ho ekosukuu nso omo so enyo fa ahodie medin de Ekwonaba boate ha Ekwonaba television ubetimi de won so comment aba medase